know people just probably clicked on this video like, no, give me motivation to quit. Because sometimes that's all the motivation you need. That you are love. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is an eye for art, aka The Alchemist, BK Shavonna Greats, and I am back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about not quitting your job. No, I'm just kidding. I want to talk about quitting your job. So before you quit your job, let's go over a few things. And this is going to be very authentic off the dome. But I do have a list that I follow every time I do quit my job, because this is job number 2 that I have resigned from. So the first thing we want to do is always address the root of the problem. Why are we quitting the job? Is it because it's not making you enough money? Is it because it is a very toxic or hostile work environment? Is it because you're not passionate about it? Is it because it's not your dream job? It's not where you want to be? Is it just the environment overall? Or is it because you need change, or there's no room to grow? Is very complacency energy, or very like stagnant, and you're just looking for a change? You just need a shift. All of those things are, for the most part, reasons why people quit their jobs. Or is it something from your personal life rolling over to your work life? Do you not have the proper balance? Is it the time management? What is it? First, identify the reason why you want to quit your job. So what's the reason? Second, you want to understand the effect the job is having on each level of your life, specifically your personal level. Like, is it rolling over into different categories of the personal level? Is it affecting your relationships, your parenting? Is it affecting things where, education, if that's more value to you? Is it getting in the way of your hobbies? This kind of similar to the reason why, but you want to look at the things that your job affect. And the reason why I said that as the next step, to look at the things that your job affects, maybe some of those things could be changed. Maybe you can compromise in some areas. Maybe you can make room or make a shift or adjustments to make that situation better. For example, let's say that this is just an example, you don't feel like you have enough time that you're spending with your kids, or you don't have enough time for like hobbies and things outside of work. Let's just say you ask for a temporary part-time schedule with less hours at work. You don't pick up as much overtime, instead of just quitting altogether. Like, you can consider that, if that is the case. That's just an example. But it's important to know the things that your job is affecting and how much of an effect that it's having on different categories of your personal life. Is it so bad that you do not get to spend enough time with your kids, where the internet is raising your kids, or social media, or the school, or someone else? Dead that shit. So you want to first address that. Once you address that, then you're going to look at the pros and the cons. Please, 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 just give me a moment. I'm going to get to the good part, because I know people just probably clicked on this video like, no, give me motivation to quit. Because sometimes that's all the motivation you need. When I was going through my journeys of wanting to quit because I mentally checked out, I was looking on YouTube videos, I was researching everything, and all I really wanted was people just constantly saying like, yes, quit, quit, quit. But I'm not here to lead no one into a ditch, or off into the deep end, or below the ocean. I don't believe in that. I believe in sorting out and assessing every side of it, even though sometimes gotta just make the decision, which I'm gonna get into where that is the case. But I'm just giving you the logical way and the more responsible way to go about it first, before I get into the impulsive spirit-led, faithful, driven, desired way. Anyway, back to it. So that's the second. So the first reason is going to be to get to the root of the problem, why you want to quit the job. The second reason is to look at what the job is affecting, how it's affecting these areas of your life. The third thing is going to be weighing the pros and the cons of quitting. Do you have another job lined up? Will you find another job making as much money? Do you have 6 months of reserved in case of emergency, of your rent being paid, your mortgage being paid, whatever there is? Do you have those expenses covered? Did you calculate that? Right? Will this put you in a hole? Will this put you in a situation that will set you back, make you more depressed than you already are working at the job? Like, would it mess you up even worse? Because sometimes, and I'm going to get into that as well, you just probably need a sabbatical or a break. Word to my girl, life is geeky. Sometimes that's all you need. Pros, quitting my job because I have another job lined up that makes me more money. But I don't want to, leave this company because I'm loyal to this company. I like this company, but I'm actually wanting to be paid more. I feel like I'm worth more or I need more. So things like that, you're going to look at the pros and the cons of quitting your job and just fully assess the situation. Some pros that quitting your job is less stress, good time management. It would be to obtain more pay, more time for yourself, mental clarity, investing into your business or hobbies, or finding a better work environment, more time with your kids or your family, significant other. So those are some of the pros that you can get out of there. Some of the cons will be, again, setbacks, depression, financial instability, possible instability within your shelter, or a minor setback for a major comeback, just things like that. Or also leaving a job and not being able to find another job of decency for a long time, and also not having experience, only having that one company, you know what I'm saying, not having room to grow with the new place you move into. So those are things that would be pros and cons. So I would say those are the 3 steps that you're going to look at before you decide to quit your job. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Now let's talk about when you quit your job, because it's, we quit. It's the great resignation around this. Let's talk about when you quit your job. So the first step, when you decide that you're going to quit your job, after you done scrolled and you done found, right, you've made up your mind, I'm quitting, I'm leaving. First thing is, look and see if you got something else lined up. If you're quitting, try to have something else lined up, okay? If you don't have nothing else lined up, do you have 6 months of reserve to keep you covered? If you don't got 6 months, let's go down to 3 months. Do you have at least 3 months to get you back? If you don't have 3 months, I don't know about quitting, friend. Now, if you plan on, making a career out of school, because some people do that for a little money, then cool, But you want to assess your finances. So that's the first thing. When you decide that you're going to quit, you want to assess your finances. The second thing is, and this is so important, do not tell anyone. When I put in my resignation letter, the first time I didn't tell anyone, and the second time I didn't tell anyone until after the resignation letter was put in. Even with the first one, I didn't tell nobody. I just wasn't there anymore. My close friends from there knew, but yeah. But do not tell anyone that you're thinking about leaving. Why? And this is something that when I was researching other people, just for pointers, for tips, for people who were courageous, very bold, it takes a different level of strength. Sometimes people feel like it's impulsive. It can be impulsive, not a smart decision, not responsible, irresponsible. But it takes a level of strength. And I do not tell anyone. When I was on my search of many different people, looking for people to kind of assist me, like get pointers online, because I wasn't telling like family members or friends, I wasn't telling nobody. because I just felt like it was something between me and God. I had wrote it in my journal, 369 method, for 33 days straight, because I was mentally checked out the first time I did it. And I just was physically still there, but it was like my body started to reject the environment as well. But I didn't tell anyone, because the first thing that happens that people will do, they will make you question yourself. If you say, yeah, I'm thinking about quitting my job. Why would you do that? Do you got this lined up? Do you got this amount of money? How you gonna survive? You got a new job? And you would think you have it all figured out in your head. And then you'd be like, damn, sometimes it's a bunch of fear mongering that'll come behind that. A bunch of fear mongering, a bunch of scarcity mindsets, people who don't believe in you, also people who are projecting, like they're projecting their feelings off onto you. And then they mean no harm. Take no offense to it. It's no offense should be taken, because we are in a society where it is structured around stability and counting on a bi-weekly paycheck, or a salary, and just long-term and 401ks and pensions, and retiring from a place. So if you get a job that's a career, or people feel as though it's a career, long-term, good benefits, it seems like a very irresponsible, dumb decision, ungrateful decision to someone who believes in that, and they are conditioned to believe in that, especially the older generation, or older people, or people who that's all they know. Because we are now in a more digital age, where so many different sources of revenues we're more it's just different resources. We're more open-minded to passive ways and other ways to earn and to survive than just the standard 9 to 5, and or even with working a 9 to 5. Sometimes people are open to more now, job hopping, and not just counting on just a 401k and a pension. But some people who are conditioned to believe in that, which is a lot of people, they have that mindset. So to them, it looks like, you gonna quit that good job. So people will do that. They'll make you question yourself, and you could think you have it figured out, and then all those projections of their feelings are projected into you, and now you can't sleep at night. Like, damn, did I make a wrong decision? Should I not do it? Now you stand somewhere that God told you to leave and move from, and you felt it. You felt that it was time to go, and you had it figured out. One thing I tell people is, no one knows your life like you. You put on your own shoes every day. You put on your own clothes. You know how it feels. Like, if you hit your toe on the edge of the bed, like I just did, you gonna feel that pain, not no one else. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think it is very selfish and irresponsible for people to have to come to your rescue when you make impulsive decisions, but that's what the community is for, right? I'm just kidding. When you make impulsive decisions. So I do think that it's important to make sure you can hold your own weight to a certain extent before you just make crazy decisions like that. Now, if you have a partner and they're footing the bill, you contribute in some ways, I think you should tell them that you're considering it in those type of situations, yes. But for the most part, if you got a plan in your head and tunnel vision, and you have it set where it's going to work out, please don't tell people, because it can confuse you. Also, it can get in the way. Some things is meant to be kept sacred, and when you share it, if it's not interpretation yet, that can inconvenience your plans. So that is the second thing you do. Do not assess your first thing is assess your finances. Second thing is to do not tell anyone. Make sure you have it well thought out and planned out in your head with your own ideas, your own thoughts and opinions before you go getting others. Please, that's between you and God. It's a conviction if you felt it. Third thing, after you decide that you're going to quit your job, is make a plan. We looked at finances. Don't tell people. Make a plan and write out and script a future plan for your new job, your new life. new environment, new setting, whatever it is. Like, make a plan that you're going to execute post resignation, like afterwards. That's very important because sometimes you can't always see the vision and you're led blindly, but it's also important to make a plan for what you plan to do in the future, like the higher salary, the things that you're passionate about. Because even if you don't get to it right away and you go in this direction, you can circle back to it. So make a plan. It's very good to make a plan because I feel like when you are in that state, you're in a state of boldness, you're already in a state of you're committed, commitment, you're faithful to it. Your mind is you operating from that solar plexus. Like it's a sense of creativity, you're feeling bold, you're feeling confident, so that energy is radiating, is high. So it's important to just use all creative blocks are removed and just use that energy to just be bold and courageous, because I feel like sometimes that comes in certain phases. Me personally, like when I made the decision the first time to do it, I was feeling the most bold as I've ever felt. Like it was a feeling that I couldn't explain. It didn't make sense on paper, but I did it. And when you have those moments where it doesn't make sense on paper, it's not a logical decision, that means you're being led by, some people will call it the Holy Spirit, your intuition, your ancestors, the spirit. Like you're being led by a inner knowing, a understanding, and it's an awakening phase. It's a spiritual awakening. So when you get that feeling, it's time to just use that to kind of plan and execute. Dream big at that moment, because that feeling sometimes is not always there. So use that to your advantage to actually plan out. And then step 4 is just execute. Put in that damn resignation letter. 2 weeks before, I did it. One of the first place I did, I didn't do 2 weeks with them people, but they didn't process it till later. But the second place that I did 2 weeks with. So 2 weeks to be, respectable. One of the key tip that I wanted to say is do not leave a setting in bad standards. Even if a company was horrible to you, you don't fight fire with fire. And it's important to understand that it's not even just about the corporation. It's the energy that you're putting out into the universe. Just leave in a good standing if you can. Like, don't do it. Don't burn a bridge. Not saying you want to circle back, because we just did the last video where we talked about not looking back. You're not going that way. And we talked about what it means to actually move forward and learn the lesson and move to a different setting. But it's just important to not burn those bridges and put that energy out, because that can triple over into other opportunities and other experiences. Like it can be very karmic. So you don't want to do that. Just leave in a good setting, good standard. And yeah, so let's get into the part that I wanted to mention. How? Remember when I just basically said assess your finances, make sure you have 6 months of reserves, or at least 3 months of reserved, and have your bills paid up if you don't have a backup job. If you do have another job, then you're set, you're good. Even then, I still want you to plan. I still want you to set a plan for what you're going to do at that job, how you're going to advance. I want you to just plan everything out. Take that time to marinate and give yourself 2 weeks before you start the new job. Give yourself some time, because I'm telling you, when you get that energy off, that time off, and you do a little, even if it's a little sabbatical, the frequency is radiating very high. You're operating from a sense of boldness, because you are in a place where you're mutable. You're open to growth and change. Some people fear the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen when you go into the new work environment or whatever situation. So basically, you're opening yourself up to the unknown. That takes a lot of courage. That is very bold. That is being led by spirit. Everybody can't do that. Some people are institutionalized and they stay at companies for years and they hate their job. When I left, you know how many? It was old people that have been there for years. People in their 60s, like, what's your bond number? Would you tell her to call me? Like, I've been wanting to leave. And after I left, like 5 people quit, and they was just motivated. My friend that quit, she was like, thanks for motivating me. I don't know if I was gonna be able to do it. And she was like, thanks for motivating me. And she was like, you motivated a lot of motherfuckers in there. Like, yes, it was this older man who hated it. He had another job and he wanted to talk to me after that. He was like, could you tell her to call me? I've been wanting to leave. Nigga, leave. Like, why are we staying? Don't get me wrong. I stayed longer than I should have. It had an expiration date. But keep in mind that I knew it was a stepping stone. When I go into these work environments, this is what people get caught up at. If I go, because honestly, if truth be told, what she say, I don't dream of labor. But I go into these environments, I go back into the matrix, and I know I have an out date. I speak that shit. I'm like, I ain't doing no more than 5. I ain't doing no more than 3. I'm gonna be out of here by this long. I speak it first. I know it's a stepping stool to get me where I need to be. Sometimes you gotta use situations as leverage. And then when you get to where you need to be and it seems like it happened so fast, but damn, I'm making the most money I made. It's from putting in the work at them other dead end jobs or places back in the day. You don't got to put it in your new setting because you already did it. It was already out into the universe. So yeah. So basically, it was so many people who was motivated after that. And I just say, like, you know, I kind of lost my train of thought. It doesn't always make sense on paper, but leave a situation and basically in good standing. You never know what, situations. You don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to put that energy out. Now, let's get into what you led by. So I am a person where I like to take calculated risks. And when you are dealing with God and you're being led by the Spirit, and your body is telling you, because our bodies tell us before it's internal, before it's external. Your body is rejecting its place to the point where if you're asleep and you work from home and you barely can get out of bed to go a couple of feet to your computer desk or your office, it's time. If you could barely make it to work or get to work, and when you get there, you're ready to go home already, it's time. Your body is starting to reject it. If you see that it's causing health issues, and if y'all look, it was so many people on YouTube, on TikTok and Instagram, I don't have those, who showed the before backpacking and after backpacking, before corporate America, after. And you see the before, the after videos of how more youthful they look, how more alive they look or vibrant they look after quitting and leaving those environments. Sometimes it's just the environment. So when you are led in that way and your body is starting to reject it, your spirit, you have mentally checked out, and the only thing there is just physically, and barely even that, it's time to go. So in those type of settings, sometimes it's not going to always make sense on paper. As I was saying, I mentioned the 6 months of reserve. I mentioned 3 months of reserve. I mentioned having another job lined up. Outside of having another job lined up, if you do not have any of those things, I don't know why people don't do this. I understand we worried about the student loans and stuff like that. Go back to school for a career and take out a refund check to pay that up. Look for a grant. Start freelancing, go get a trade, do other side hustles. Everything does not have to be designated and to earn just from the 9 to 5. I want people to understand, if you keep getting rejected for jobs and you're trying to leave, try a different avenue. It was so many people online I seen showing applying to after 100 jobs. This is what happened. So if that's your situation, that's stopping you from quitting, again, find a different avenue. You can keep trying because timing is everything, but maybe that means it's showing you to go in a different direction. Maybe you need to go to school for something else. Maybe you need to go get you a trade. Maybe you need to actually start doing a side hustle or something else, or a skill or a passion. I want people to understand that that's probably what that means. So don't let that stop you from quitting. Now, those are the things that, I wanted to bring to the attention with that, what you're looking at before you quit your job. Also, think about who it's going to affect. And if you have a family and all that, don't be irresponsible with it or selfish with it, of course. But if it's causing you to be stressed out, and your body is rejecting it, and it's impacting everything else in your life, no good time management, affecting your relationships in a negative way, your body, your health, your time for hobbies and passions and skills, your livelihood, you wanting to live mentally, it's time to leave. I do not care what you're talking about finances. When it's time for you to go and God tell you to go, you better leave, because what happens when you don't leave, you probably gonna be fired or something will force you out of that environment. I tell people all the time, when God say do something, when you feel instructed to do something, commit to it, because when you don't do it, it's gonna happen. It's gonna sweep the rug from up front of your ass, from up under your ass. And when that happens, it don't feel good that way. Sacrifice and stuff like that comes from being disobedient and not following your intuition. I don't care what nobody say. For the most part, it comes from that. You were doing what you're supposed to do the first time. Unfortunately, some people have to have it in that type of setting that way. I'm one of them in certain settings. So when you feel convicted to do it, you have to leave. You have to do it. Like, just quit that place. But it's important to understand that not everything is going to make sense on paper. Now, this is the part where we get out of the having 6 months or 3 months reserved, already having another job lined up, or already signed up for school and everything. Now, this is where I say sometimes you gotta walk by faith and not by sight. So I'll give you an example of my situation. Personally, I wanted to leave. I went back down the same rabbit hole that I did when I first quit the first job. And I'm not a habitual job quitter. I stayed at both of the jobs for 5 and 3.5 years. So yes. And I worked other jobs while doing it. So anyway, in those situations, because I don't want y'all to think I'm one of them people who just telling y'all to quit your job, and I'm one of the people who habitually quit, and it works, and I got this money and it works out for me when, I'm not telling you to be irresponsible like that. But I'm just giving you a situation where sometimes I have to. Now, let me give you my first situation, and then I'm going to give you the second situation. First situation, I'm going to make another video on it, but I just want to touch on this really quick. The first situation, it was time for me to leave the job. I said I was not doing more than 5 years. I was physically, mentally checked out, and physically I was barely making it to work, getting there. I was having to still perform my job, but I wasn't doing a horrible job, but I just felt myself moving more slow, slacking off, and I was ready to go. So I had made up my mind that I was leaving. Like, I talked to God about it. I talked to my aunts. I was just very in tune. Like, I gotta go. So I was like, I'm leaving on this date. So then I kind of was going to renege, because I'm like, I was waiting on a settlement, a payout for them. And I was like, damn, I can't leave right now because these people are probably not going to pay me my money. And this doesn't make sense on paper, because they were some grimy ass people. And I had wrote up my grievance myself. Union Store didn't help me. So I'm just like, they ain't how to prove my shit. So I was like, this is not making sense on paper. Again, I told you guys I'm one of the people who like to do calculated risk. And this is one of the situations where when you quit your job, you can't do calculated risk. You have to listen to God. And it always works out for me when these situations happen. So I'm just looking at finances. I'm looking at everything. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't have this amount outside of whatever I don't have this 6 months of rent and all this reserved. I don't have that. I may have 3 months, but with everything else I have, I don't have 6 months. Now, if they give me my payout, I'll have that and it'll be paid up. So I'm like, I can't leave yet, and then I was like, but if I don't leave by this date, I'll probably get stuck and end up staying. It'll be in a loophole. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just stay. And whenever they give me my money, they give me my money. And it was like, ain't no telling with them when they pay you out of grievance, because they could take whatever. So it came to the point where I was like, I was doing some spiritual things to like kind of just asking for signs and stuff from the universe. Like, should I just leave? Because I had wrote in my book, like, I'm leaving this day. And I was like, should I leave? Should I put in my letter this week? Should I just put in my letter this week? And I was like, it was like the spirit, I got to assign yes. And I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to do it. I was scared. I'm like, I'm doing it. If they don't pay me, I know God, I'm trusting God. It was just something in me. And this is being blindly led at this point. So I submitted the letter. I went home that day, wrote it in I submitted the letter. I wrote it in my journal like I did it. And okay. So I did it. So then after that, it was like the same week, y'all. the union story. I'm like, yeah, they're going to pay you out next week and or 2 weeks and get your money. I'm like, it was like they was paying me out right before I left. You kid. You fucking kid. That was a test. People feel like God don't test you, but that's testing whether you really believe in yourself, you're going to stand on your word, you trust in your intuition, you being led blindly, as people would say it, by faith, not by sight, not what you can see. Because of course we always want to see it and how it's going to be planned. Everything not meant for you to see is unknown. Trusting that's a sense of in your gut, it's already set. The stage is already set, just waiting for you to just take it. So it happened like that. Second situation, I was like, oh, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna work for a little, and then I'm gonna move into this. And they were like, oh, we ain't approving it. They're approving your leave. Because I was trying to do it like strategic. I was trying to make sure it makes sense on paper. And I was like, y'all not. And it was like, but I had already wanted to leave, but I was reneging on putting in my letter and stuff like that. They was like, yeah, we're not approving it. You basically, you gotta resign. I mean, you can stay if you want, but if you choose to do that, you're gonna have to resign or be fired. I was like, when God tells you to do something, do something. And again, the second time it didn't make sense on paper because of the time frame that I was initially going to do the leave for, which I'm going to get into really quick. I was only doing it for a short period of time. So I'm just like, damn, I can't take a little sabbatical. I can't take, because sometimes, again, guys, instead of quitting your job, take that short-term disability, take a sabbatical, take that FMLA if you got some anxiety, mental health, take that. And then also do a personal leave of absence if you have enough saved. You may need, that's all sometimes you need is a vacation, a break, a sabbatical, extended time off work, some little solitude, okay? To be in hermit. Sometimes that's all you need and you can come back to the set. Now, if it's like I explained before, all those other things, negative things, no, you're leaving altogether. So for me, it was more so like, it was mostly all those other things. But again, I was trying to make it make sense on paper, have something else lined up, be strategic. But unfortunately with God, that's not the way it works for me in these settings. So I was just like, oh, I'm just going to take a sabbatical for this situation. This will work out fine. It'll give me a break and it'll also help me advance, in other areas. They were like, we not approving this sabbatical. And I didn't do short-term disability or FMLA, which I was trying to do the right thing. I should have did it. Well, no, I shouldn't have. It was meant, because if I would have did that, I probably would have stayed. That's why God is just like, but it wasn't working out in those other avenues when I was trying FMLA or short. So that's why I'm saying all this is divinely orchestrated, and it always is. So again, it's not going to always make sense on paper. I don't have nothing else lined up. Didn't have nothing else lined up for the first time I quit. I didn't have the 6 months of reserved at first. This time it's a little more established. Stuff is planned out, paid up some things. So it's like, cool. That ended up happening the second time, but it took for God to see that I committed to actually leaving. The second time I was forced out of the environment because not disobedient, but I was just probably never going to do it if it didn't happen like this. And then afterwards, I scrambled around to plan things like, well, let me get this paid up, let me do this. But it all ended up working out. It always do. And if you really trust God, and sometimes it's not going to make sense on paper when you're quitting. Sometimes it's meant to happen like that for you to go through a season of doubt, worry, a drought, for you to gain a sense of trust with God, faithfulness, commitment, and also to explore other avenues. Sometimes those tests are meant to open you up so you can explore other avenues. It makes you tap into other things, and opportunities come your way that you would never have thought would come your way. Things will happen that never happened before. Dreams of your life, because you are out of the environment that reaches the expiration date. You learned your lesson in. And it just took for you to commit and actually make the bold choice to do so. Sometimes that's all it takes. But again, that's my summary of when you're quitting your job. Make sure go to all your appointments. Make all your appointments ahead of time. Also, if you can continue with life insurance, call the life insurance company ahead of time. I did that with the companies, and take it outside of the job, set it up to automatically come out of your account. Medical, they may, most of the time they're not going to let you do that. Ask them if they have an alternative plan, or you might not be able to do that. I did that with one of the companies, but not every company will let you do that, and I was paying for it separately. It was way more, of course. But yeah, go to all your appointments ahead of time. 401k, do not pull it down. Roll it over into a Roth IRA with Fidelity or Vanguard. Don't pull it down. Leave that money where it's at for a rainy day. Yeah, go to all your appointments. Pull life insurance out. Leave 401k up there. Roll it over. Do not pull it out. You do not want to be penalized for that. Yeah, that pretty much sums up what you need to do before you quit. But y'all, get out of that toxic ass work environment. It ain't for you no more. You need to go. You need to quit. It ain't for you. We're not in the Great Resignation, and this is not a hiring market. This is a, they post all these ghost jobs. I do understand we're in uncertain times in the economy, but this is the time, the test of faith. When we in a shitty ass economy and things do not make sense and a job seems very, very hard to get, and you hearing other people's stories, again, I told you about them outside voices and projection, and it's like, damn, it's scaring you. This is the time to really, for you to make that decision. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what was happening when that COVID happened for me, when I did it. And guess what? I was speaking and I didn't have a job lined up for shit. I said, I'm gonna work in this type of environment. I'm gonna work from home. I had never worked from home. And people was like, how you gonna get that? And I was just, at that point, after people knew that I resigned, people was like, where you work? Are you working? They started to be nosy because I was on the phone. They started to call me, I wouldn't be in that, working in my, and they was like, where you at? And then one of my sisters said, do you not work anymore? I'm like, oh no, I got a new job coming. I was just speaking it into existence. I'm like, yeah, I got a new job. I'm starting a job in this field. And I was getting interviews for the field, and I didn't know which field. I just kept saying, I'm working in this field. I can work from home. It happened. I got nervous. I was speaking. I'm like, it's going to be about the end of the year because I had a 4-month sabbatical. Life. Give yourself time before you get into that new job. And then by the end of the year, I'm like, oh, I'm getting scared. They ain't called me. They called me, and they was like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, look at G-O-D, fuck with me. But yeah, so don't let outside voices trick you. Don't let this economy trick you. I don't give a fuck what somebody said, how long it took them to get a job, how many jobs they applied for. If you believe and you trust in your plan and God is telling you to do something, do it. Watch what's going to happen after. You have to really believe. I don't want to hear non-believers or people talking about something. It didn't work out for me. Especially when the people like, that spell didn't work out. You weren't supposed to practice, or you weren't supposed to do it. It wasn't for you. Or you didn't really believe. I'm telling you, if you really believe and it's really in alignment and you're supposed to do it, it's going to work out for you. Watch. Look at my other videos, y'all. Watch how my life gonna be. I just quit my last job. I was forced out of the environment because I was going to come back. Watch what's gonna happen. Just look at my YouTube channel and see. This is a testimony. My channel, again, it is an eye for art, The Alchemist, BK Shalana Greats. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Quit that damn job.